kicks off. Can I just ask you first of all about Philip Curto and his influence on the game? I know we normally talk about an overall assessment, but just, I mean, how do you sum up his influence tonight, your goalkeeper?
There's a reason why we decided to use up a visa spot for a goalkeeper. That's what he gets paid to do. That's his job. It's as simple as that. Some do it better than others. And today, particularly in the second half, because I thought he was playing cards with himself in the first half, he didn't have much to do at all. But it's not just about Philip Curto. Like I said, I thought he did well, did what he had to do in the second half, but more importantly, I thought the performance overall was very, very good in terms of the result and the way they dug in and they fought for each other. We had to change the formation somewhat in the second half, so I changed it a little bit, tweaked it, and I thought that helped us because they were getting in between the lines, but I thought the first half performance was different class against a team that's above us. And people keep questioning us, you know, what about this run? What about the games coming up? You know, there's not one team now that we haven't taken points off above us. So keep throwing those questions away because these boys will keep rising to the challenge.
I'm not going to ask any questions like that. I prefer to know about the first half and because it was so different, Mark.
It was.
What happened on Wednesday? Why so?
Again, not too sure. Again, you've got to give them a lot of credit in terms of the way they came out. I thought they pressed differently than the first half, and I guess that was where it changed. And again, we need to assess that second half performance because I thought it was just a simple situation of the player who hasn't got the ball to be in a position to receive it, and it's just a matter of 2 or 3 metres. And we work a lot on that. It's about, you know, giving the player on the ball options. And I thought we rushed it somewhat in terms of our decision making. We gave the ball away, particularly when we had the ball. But like I said, give them a lot of credit because in the second half they came out and they pressed. And we weren't doing the things that made us successful in the first half. Getting into pockets, you know, making sure that we were getting into areas to receive the ball from the ball carrier and giving the ball carrier options. So again, we need to, you know, reflect on that second half performance because I certainly, you know, wasn't overjoyed with it, Piney. But in the whole scheme of things, 3 games in 6 days, and irrespective of tonight's result, I was still going to bring up the fact that both teams that we played in the last couple of days had an extra 24 hours rest more than us. Mind you, they're not the only ones. If I go through the whole draw this year, right, I don't mind if it's evened up. And I don't care about travel because we travel more than anybody else along with Perth Glory. But for Sydney FC to play on Saturday and for us to have to be in Melbourne on Sunday and then come back and play, and they've got an extra 24 hours, Sydney, and then again Melbourne City play on Tuesday and we play on Wednesday, that 24 hours when you've got a congested schedule, and I've got no qualms about the congested schedule, by the way, and I said that to you before, that it's good that players are, but let's try and even things up. You know, let's play on an even keel here because the last 2 games we weren't, and that's why I was even more proud of my players, knowing that the last 2 games, you know, the opposition had an extra 24 hours to recover. It was a hell of a second half performance as far as I'm concerned.
Do you believe that your team has a 90-minute performance in it that would match the 45 today? And consistently, once we get to finals, do you believe you can put...
I believe that we can get fitter and get stronger, yes. And we will get fitter and we will get stronger, and that is a challenge that I've proposed to them because if you look throughout the season, you know, we've played 45, 60 good minutes. You know, it's not easy, but I thought against Sydney FC, you know, we played a good 75 minutes in that game, albeit the result. And the result, you know, changes the outcome a lot of the time, Piney, as well. When you're 1-0 down against Sydney, they decide to go and sit back and we've got a lot of the ball. When you're 1-0 up, the reverse happens, right? So it's something that we want to challenge the players on in order for us to stay, you know, in reach with the top 4 and get into the top 4 as well, because we certainly need to do that. So it's a work in progress, and we'll still challenge the players, Jason.
Just one more from me. Do you feel like that's your best 11, the 11 that started tonight? Are you a kind of coach who settles on what you believe to be your best 11, all things being equal? I mean, you won't have Jura now because he's got 5 yellow cards. But is that your best 11 that you put out from the start tonight?
What do you think?
Well, I think it is, but I'd be keen to know your view.
Players come in and out of this team purely based on performance, their loading, injuries, suspension, and all the rest of it. Ask me that question maybe in a few more weeks' time, because we aren't the finished deal, we aren't the finished product. There are still players there within the team who I believe have every right to fight for a starting berth. We created competition within the playing squad and the playing group for a reason, to make sure that I don't answer that question straight away, because I don't have one solid 11 that I'm going to rely on week in, week out. It just doesn't work that way. We have a bigger squad, or we have 20 players, or 19 contracted, or 20 contracted, sorry, should I say, for a reason. And I'll make sure that we include, and it's an inclusive environment, that all players, even though they may not be starting certain games, feel just as important as those that are. And it's one of the reasons why we've got such a strong group and such a good culture and strong environment within this football club.
And yeah, Roy's obviously in the hunt for the Golden Boot. But how good is it to see David Williams scoring regularly as well? I think that's
Yeah, it's the competition, as I said to Jason, isn't just amongst players, but it's amongst positions. And there are little competitions taking place between the 3 defenders, the 2 midfielders, the 2 strikers, the wing backs. I mean, again, it's something that we've created where I want them to compete. Can Louis and Libby compete against each other? Who can get forward more often? Who can get back more often? Who's going to be covering more kilometres and more high-speed sprints? Who can get more balls into the box? There's a competition there. 2 strikers, exactly the same. It's not to say that they are any selfish in any way, shape or form, but there are little competitions amongst the playing group as well. So it's good, and you need to share the goal scoring load around, as far as I'm concerned. You look at any successful team in the history of this competition, and going back in the NSL, the top goal scorer in that team always needed a helping hand somewhere. What I would say is that who else can now chip in? Because we need some more goals from other players as well. That's going to be important too.
Sure. And you talk about the import spot using now on the goalkeeper. I guess it was kind of a rare move. Doesn't happen a lot in the A-League. Was that a tough decision to make early on, to go, okay, we're going to have to use that on?
Yeah. No, not for me. And I think I made it quite clear when I spoke to you guys when I first came to these shores. It was quite apparent as far as I was concerned that we needed someone really strong, and I build my teams from the back and make sure that we lay a real strong platform to build on. Not every coach gets every visa player right. I know that. I've spoken to many coaches and I've watched from afar as well. But I believe the amount of work that we did in our recruitment, the amount of sleepless nights with agents and players, and we continue to do that as well, because we are still looking to plan even for next year, because it's a never-ending process, right? Certainly that was one that I was very clear on, and it probably raised a few eyebrows as to why. But I think tonight, like a lot of things that I've done, Phil, there's a lot of people that question a lot of things. Keep questioning, no problems for me. Like I said, we've spoken about this before.
Does that create a trend here to see other teams potentially using it?
Yeah, I don't know. I got asked that question last week against Melbourne Victory. Was a template or the way we play against them, or Sydney FC, other coaches have used the same kind of template to beat these teams? I don't know. It's great that other coaches can learn from other coaches. I'm still learning, right? So whether they decide that the goalkeeper is an important one to use in one of their visa spots, I don't know. That's up to them to decide. It's not my football club. This is my football club. So it's important that we make the right decisions.
And it's going to be 51 days before you come back to Wellington. How tough is it going to be?
Oh God, is it really?
Yeah, how tough
Okay.
is it going to be playing 5 games away from the actual final?
Correct me if I'm wrong, is our away form better than our home form? I'm sure that we've lost more games at home than away.
You're right there.
So the players do enjoy being away from home, away from the girlfriends and wives. I'm not sure why, but they like to be together. They like to stay together. They appreciate each other's company as well, and we have a good time, when we're away from home. So 51 days, mate, you remind me of the Castaway movie at the moment. But I don't know, maybe we come back with full-length beards and a volleyball with a smiley face on it as well. It's not something that I'll look at, Phil. It's not something that I really dawn on or think about. Like Harry asked me the same question, your next run of games. That was interesting because I didn't really know who was after, let's say, Newcastle, because I'm aware that we play Perth and Newcastle, right?